Well, I'm here with Dan Davidson, pastor of Rose City Church. And Dan, you're also involved in a number of other ventures as well, too. Tell us a little bit about those organizations and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Dan Davidson. I pastor Rose City Church in Pasadena, California, a church that I reopened back in 2011, neighborhood church. Out of that church, we also launched a social enterprise, a cafe that's just about a half a mile down from where the church is. It's a social enterprise, so it employs and trains youth that are transitioning out of homelessness, as well as the foster system, so transitional aged youth. Working with that population now for 7, 8 years. Had great success with the youth getting the jobs and finding their place in cafes and the coffee shops. I also serve in the city of Pasadena on a committee we call the Faith Community Committee. That's a committee that partners the faith communities with the city to work on ending homelessness together. And so the current pandemic obviously is impacting our vulnerable neighbors. So I've got a voice and a space to help out there as well. And then also serve on a couple of nonprofit boards as well.
That's great. So, at least with your coffee company and even maybe some of the nonprofit boards that you serve on, tell me a little bit of how's the situation, this crisis, how's that affected the revenue, maybe from donations, but then also for you from sales of coffee and other drinks as well too.
It impacted us very fast. I think none of us realized how quickly things would change. We were having our best year yet with revenue and sales. Really, figuring things out. It was looking really strong. And then with the news and that thing, and the pandemic started to spread. We saw less and less customers in the matter of a weekend. And then maybe a week later was when the emergency ban started to go into effect.
Hmm.
And with that, we immediately saw complete drop in sales. So we dropped in sales in a matter of a week by about 85%,
Wow. Okay.
up to 90. And so unfortunately, I did have to let a few of our baristas go. I had to shut down the training program for the youth. And we were able to retain one of our main employees to run the coffee cart because we can't do any in-seating food and drink. So we're doing everything from the door. It's curbside, it's delivery, it's to go only. And so once we got our cafe manager running on that, immediately went into how do we manage our relationships with our business partners? How do we figure this out? And then how do we get funding?
Yeah.
Where's the support? You hear about in the news with the stimulus, but where is it? How do we get it? So I've had to spend a lot of my time on the front edge of all that information, trying to learn and process as quickly as I can to make sure we're in a good position to get ourselves out of this.
Totally. When you were thinking about laying off or putting some of your employees on furlough, where did you feel like your responsibility was as the owner and as an employer to your staff?
Well, so immediately I went to thinking about their health. How do they stay healthy? The last thing I would want is someone through our business to catch COVID-19. After that, then my next thought was, how do I keep people employed?
Hmm.
What are my options for unemployment? What does that look like so that they can at least have money coming in if I don't have the money available through our sales? What options do we have there? So I jumped into the webinars that talked about work share programs, which is a form of unemployment in California that allows for people to remain staff but get unemployment because of reduced hours. So I immediately applied for that, trying to figure out how to do it. Quite a cumbersome process, but nonetheless, we went for that. But then by the time that application and things went through, I mean, our sales and everything had dropped so drastically that there just wasn't enough hours to offer. So then we just, unfortunately, at that point, had to make the decision for people to go into unemployment. And I just asked them to apply immediately because that work share program was going to take too long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they just went straight to unemployment. And then we figured out, okay, who can we pay? Who's got the health, the energy, and the willingness to stay on? And so that's where we landed with Jackie as our one employee.
Okay. Looking forward, have you thought a little bit more as to what this is going to look like, whether or not you're going to bring staff back? Which has been your communication with some of them?
So I've just had to keep them updated with where we're at, right? With what we've been attempting. So when it comes to that, it's just letting them know the different federal stimulus packages that we've attempted to apply for and are working through the process on, and also grants, right? So in my future mind processing, really it's about debt management right now. How can I get grants that will help me cover the costs that we're not being able to cover with sales, rent, utilities, accounts payable? I'm focused right now on making sure one employee is getting paid and we're sustaining the business at that new level, right?
Hmm.
So we're not incurring more cost. And then on the flip side, I'm working on the different avenues to gain the finances to cover, um, you know, the debt that's astounding from the rent and utilities, so that we can reopen without us being too far in the hole.
If you were talking to somebody in DC today, especially about small businesses, even nonprofits, right? What are some of the recommendations that you would have for them?
I think we need some more support out there, especially for the small businesses and nonprofits.
Yeah. Well, and you've done a really good job about being proactive and being on
Yeah.
top of these things. Whereas for most businesses and organizations, they get overwhelmed and they're
Oh,
trying to manage just the day to day and survive, much
yeah.
less trying to figure out how to understand and read all of these things too. I guess one last question. Any suggestions you have to other business owners who are kind
Yeah.
of going through some of
For
these things?
sure. Yeah, I think at this stage, like it's about who you know, your relationship. So just don't feel alone in this. Reach out to the people that you can trust, whether they're local lenders, whether they're small business, other small businesses. In my neighborhood, we on our block, we formed a little text messaging group of the 5 businesses next to me, so that we can stay in constant contact with like what they're learning, what they're hearing. So I would just say engage your friends, like whoever that social capital is you have, those friends that you have in small business and faith communities, engage them, be a part of this with them, learn from each other, share your insight, share your information, and then find those you can trust.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because I think in this world of social isolation, you think you have to do it by yourself, but actually, I've been reading about articles of how there are communities that are being formed even amongst businesses, like in the
Oh yeah.
UK, where people are learning from each other and texting each other and taking care of each other. And I think
Yes.
we all need to kind of do stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's it. Press into your social capital, your friends. Yeah.
Great, Dan. Thank you so much. I
You
appreciate
got
it.
it. You got it,
Okay,
Jimmy.
talk
Yeah.
soon. Bye bye.
Yeah.